Today is special, and as you return to the stage, our recent host, our powerhouse, our pillar, please join me in welcoming Michelle Mercurio to the stage.
This music, yeah? All right, I mean, we can keep Biggie going. So Lindsay says to me, she's like, what do you want your walk-up song to be? And I'm like, oh, come on. We know it's going to be Biggie. It's always going to be Biggie. Wow, you're not supposed to make me cry before I come up on stage, Linz. That was supposed to be after. Hi, everyone. Hi. Guess who's back? You thought last month you weren't going to see me again, and here I am, because clearly I cannot stay away. I'm going to start today in a way that I hadn't planned on starting before. This is my actual personal journal that I write in, and I wanted to read something to you. I am all locked up in my head about this talk for Creative Mornings. Every framework, every platitude, every draft, every outline feels false and forced, like I'm adding too much, or it's too trite, or it's just not good enough. Or is that the story, the same one that I've always had about me? I started drafting this talk when I was in Guam. I was very lucky. I was able to take a sabbatical this year, a month away from my 50th birthday. And when I started drafting it, I drew out a story arc. And I wanted to start this. So I wrote, we begin in the middle of the action, arriving, much like life, with the story already in progress. We are naked and screaming. That doesn't change. Sometimes that persists. Unsure of who we are or what we are, and we're relying on the outer world to shape what we arrived with. Inciting incident after inciting incident, those catalysts, both internal and external, they propel us to climb, to strive, to struggle, to work through our thoughts, our feelings, our reactions, and challenges until we arrive, or so we think we arrive, at the pinnacle, the peak. This is it. We made it, but that arc doesn't stop. We've hit a turning point, and the story begins to change and descend. The falling action is the place to wrap up the conflict, to make meaning, to integrate the context, and to wrap everything up, all the loose ends, into one neat conclusion. This is what we hope for our lives, too. Neat and tidy growth that reads like the life we want to lead and the legacy we want to leave. So, with that, I was freaking out about this talk. And then I remembered something. I have always been a natural-born storyteller. At least that's what my mom said. I think that was her creative way of telling me that I could lie my way out of any kind of trouble, and that I had such a vivid imagination she wasn't sure where it was coming from. My parents decided pretty early on to try to harness this wild beast in me and got me into a writing class. And I was about age 6 or 7. If you're a parent of middle schoolers, you know, 6, 7. Or you're an auntie of a middle schooler, you know, 6, 7. But I was about that age, and I spent my summer writing books. And I wrote 3 books that summer. One of them was called The Purple Diamond. And while I'm not going to read it to you, trust me, it's absolutely terrible, and I couldn't find it, but I was going to bring it if I did find it. That book will never be on the New York Times bestseller. But what it did do at that early age for me is firmly root me in this identity that I was a writer and that I was a storyteller. So I want to ask you, what did you want to be when you grew up? A singer, a ballerina.
Librarian.
Like what? Librarian. A librarian. Gray, this does not surprise me. I love it. And you are a singer and you are a ballerina in many ways, all of these things. What are some of the other things? A geologist? Oh, archaeologist. Okay, I can see you, explorer. What? A cartoonist. All right, talk to Dave. Yeah, I heard him. So what informed these things? Experience. Okay, what else? Your interests. Exposure, seeing someone else do it, having your heroes, right? I think all of these things are things that we do over and over again because we see other people doing it, or we hear about something, or we think it means something to us, and we latch on to that. So growth was pursued when I was young in conjunction with the stories that I told myself, right? So the angel, not. The devilish witch, definitely more like where I am now. Big Sister was definitely a story I told myself. Shout out to my brother who is in this room somewhere, who I don't see there. Oh, right in front. I was sitting right by him, folks. But these stories that were influenced by the things that we saw and the things that we did, right? And I knew I wanted to be a writer, and I knew I wanted to be a storyteller. And so I was off. I was going to go start doing those things. And then also, somewhere along the way, the stories that others told to me also came into play, right? So I remember being a child and having a story from a very young age that Michelle doesn't like to finish things. Michelle is so brilliant if she would just apply herself. Michelle is a talker. Michelle is, if she would just X, right? I think we have all of these stories about us, and all of us have things that we have that run kind of in that script underneath all of the things that we do out in the world. But we have those inner voices too, and they're formed by different people who influence us, whether it's a parent or a caregiver, a guardian, a teacher, a friend, somebody we admired, somebody we look up to. And so when we get that negative story about ourselves too, it becomes part of us. So while I was looking for some of those wild pictures, I also found something I wrote about 10 years ago. About 10 years ago. And these were stories that I was still telling to myself. You'll never follow through. You aren't capable. You're not smart enough. You have nothing original about you. You aren't that special. You can't do these things. That's not how the world works. Why do you think that you have magic? And I think that saying these things out loud, it's one of those moments when you start to confront the stories that you also have to undo and unlearn and realize that there are moments in our lives that are turning points. But at this point, when I was still pursuing all of these things, right, we all do this. We get the checklist. We have to apply ourselves. We have to try harder. We have to be good. How many of you had to be good? And how many of you have a very specific definition in your mind of what good is? Right? And good girls don't do that. And good humans are this way, right? And so I think, and you know what? If we said everybody in this room to, talk about their version of good, it would all be different, right? There would probably be a lot of similarities. We're all humans. We have that kind of part of our lives. But we also have very distinct stories that are part of us. And so we have to go to school. That was a story that I had to live, right? That was not an option in our household. You have to go to school. You will find a job. You will make money. You will get another degree. We were very lucky when Rob and I grew up. We had a dad who definitely prioritized education for us. And then you're going to get promoted, and you're going to go and you're going to do these things. So this whole growth trajectory, and for all of us, right, for many of us, we have an idea of what it means to grow, to strive, to try harder, to do all of these things, to then find a spouse. Oh, now you have to get a house. When are you having kids, right? All of these things, because society also informs the stories that we all live in our cultures, right? So get promoted again, have some kids, continue to climb the ladder. Don't be weird. Don't be weird. I am sorry. I am here to be weird. And I think, what is normal anyway, right? There is no normal. There are norms and things that that happen in society that we think we have to conform to, but don't be weird. I spent a lot of time in my youth. How many of you were the people who spent a lot of time trying not to be weird? And how many of you totally embraced it? How many of you were goth like me? Okay, I like it. I love it. That's great. That's perfect. Yeah, exactly. How many of you have seen my goth pictures? Yeah, how many? Yeah, but never mind. We're not going to go down that road. One of my dear friends who I went to college with came in for today, and she said, you should just put up some of those photo shoots that you did. I might have taken some pictures that were truly naked and screaming for a birthday recently. And she's like, if you lose your place, just stick up a naked picture. It'll distract everybody. But I think that this is the thing, right? Don't be weird. Don't be who you are. And I think that when we get down to it, a lot of times, I spent the first part of my life trying not to be who I was, or a very slim version of who I was, while I tried to fit in. So corporate life, right? I was an exec. I was traveling all the time. I was married to Kevin, who also was a Creative Mornings spouse, much like Jolinda was talking about Will, and Andrew, who is also in this room, who is a Creative Mornings spouse and makes things happen for Lindsay. But we were trying to do everything according to whatever playbook we thought we had to follow. And this is the picture. It's 2010. Kevin, who, if you know Kevin now, he looks nothing like this, is on one end of the picture. I'm on the other with my aunt and my brother and my parents and my mom's best friend. And Rob and Amy are pregnant. And it was what I wanted more than anything at that point, or so I thought, was to have kids, because I was still living in this story. My life from the outside looked really great. I had a great house, I had a great marriage, I wanted to have children, and I wanted to do all of those things that I thought I was living into. And then what happened is one night the phone rang. And it was Mother's Day weekend, and it was in 2011, and I thought that James was here. And so I picked up the phone and I said, "Oh my gosh, is the baby here?" And my mom told me that James had died. And he had not been born yet, but that there wasn't a heartbeat. And the things that our family wanted so badly to welcome this beautiful human, this new life into our family, wasn't there. And I felt so guilty and so terrible, because I remember when Amy called to tell me she was pregnant, I bawled, and not from happiness, but from jealousy. And so we had these things, we had these stories, and then all of a sudden, that moment of grief, and the 10 minutes after, and the 10 days after, and the 10 weeks, and the 10 months, and now over 10 years. What that did is grief has a way of changing the trajectory of growth and what growth looks like. And it became a catalyst for me to start really looking at how I was living my life. Nobody wants anything to come out of a tragedy like this, right? You don't want a moral to the story. I don't want a moral to the story. I don't want to see a point. I am still firmly in the camp of meant to be. I don't necessarily believe things are meant to be. Things are, and things are not. And you meet them where you are. I think, right? I think that's very true. And I'm not trying to say that you can't have wishes or hopes, or that things feel super aligned and wonderful and maybe feel meant to be. but you can't tell me that certain things happen that are meant to be in our world, in our city, in our community. You cannot tell me that I think about these things as catalyst. You cannot tell me that here in Richmond, when we had a reckoning during the pandemic after George Floyd was murdered, that was meant to be. No, that was a wake-up call to a lot of people to start looking at, what are we actually prioritizing? What are our lives here for? Who are we helping? How are we showing up? What is it that we're actually doing here? Are we actually loving people? Are we actually pursuing the things that matter the most? Or are we stuck on a checklist and a to-do list, right? I think that when something like that happens, grief is an incredible motivator to find and rekindle your alignment. So at that moment, it's 2010. Just checking my time real quick. Okay, got a couple minutes. I began to realize that everything I was doing I hated. And we began to realize that a lot of things weren't going well. And Kevin and I were in therapy. And so in 2014, I did the next thing where it wasn't an external catalyst, it was an internal catalyst. It was blowing up my own life. And I left Kevin, I left our house in the suburbs, I left soon thereafter, I took steps to leave the corporate job that I was at. I stopped showing up in the ways that I was showing up. And I did my own personal reckoning, right? Much like cities and communities do. So, I mean, spoiler alert, Kevin and I had our 21st wedding anniversary yesterday. So, there's that. But this is the moment where I was like, we call this partly sometimes our second marriage, right? Because we did that work. He did his own work, I did my own work, and we did come back together. But a lot of this whole thing was like looking at myself, looking at what it was that I knew more than anything else that I wanted to be doing, because I didn't even know myself. I couldn't feel it in my body. Catherine's nodding her head yes, because she knows this too, right? I couldn't feel myself. I didn't know what I thought. I didn't know what I really wanted. And that became the trajectory to start unlearning some of those stories that were told to me too. During this time, this was a lot of what I was reckoning with, right? What will people think? And it was very personal at that time. And I think the personal work has to be done so that way you can go out and then do the bigger work in the world that we're in now, right? What will people think? And I hear this all the time from people that I work with and people in my family and people in my friend group. It's like, if I deviate from this, what will people think? And the truth is, people aren't thinking about you. Right? People weren't thinking about me either. I was thinking about me, but people weren't thinking about me. And I think that one of the things that we have to do with that is the what will people think, it's always those voices that are in our head first, right? We're actually trying to figure out what we think. What will we think about us? And then how do we apply that? So it's less like this, I realize, when we are thinking about the stories that we tell ourselves. And it's more like this. Okay. So this is me showing you that I'm a words girl and I cannot draw. And that's fine. But all of my graphic designer friends, please realize that I love you all and you're so much better at this, but this is my version of it. Okay? And when we're in the beginning, right, we start over here with this, who am I? Am I enough? What does the world mean? Or what does the world want from me? And then we kind of move through this. It's like, what do I want for me? What do I want for my community? And now I think about this part right here. I used to think of this very front part as the biggest part of growth, right? The striving, the struggles, the more struggles. In fact, I drew this one day, and then I realized last night, I drew it on the back of a to-do list, right? You will die with a to-do list. You're not, if you are anything like me, anybody who's ever done a StrengthsFinder test and you come up with like achiever and strategic and command, Lelia, you are laughing because you know this is true, right? You're gonna die with a list like this. Make sure that you don't miss out on the to-be list, right? Make sure you're not missing out on who am I really? What do I actually value and where am I headed? Because I think we spend a lot of our time, and this is same with communities too, we spend a lot of our time striving for something instead of examining when we hit that turning point and saying, what actually needs to change? What does this growth look like? What does letting go look like? You know, and I think that we get also really hung up on this idea that letting go is just, oh, just let it go. Letting go is a practice, and it has to happen every day, right? You are always letting something go, and you have to be able to really process it. It's not just a flip of a switch, right? But I realize now where I am in my world that slide down is really where I am in my growth, right? And what has happened is all of the big growth came in those liminal points. It came in between the moments when I was doing. It came when I stopped doing. You know, the very first part of growth, I think, is to stop and actually see, is this where I want to grow and where I want to be? So, and then I think the other biggest thing on this slide especially is reconnecting with that inner intuition, right? What is it that we're really, what is it that we always know? And something I know now is that growth and joy are always now. We meet growth not when we're going and doing, but when we're present and we're open and we are seeing the aliveness that's around us in this room with these beautiful humans in this creative community. Like, this is growth. Just being. So, a couple of questions that I always use when I know that I need to look at my growth. Where am I on my journey right now? I told you where I was, right? I see all of these, this row down here taking a photo, so I'm just moving out of the way. Where am I right now? Right now, I'm on the trajectory of letting even more things go. I am in my feral fuck it 50s, and it's time. No, done. I thought I couldn't say that more than now, but that's where I am. So I know that part. Who am I now? We think we are static. We don't think we're static. We think, oh yeah, we're changing. But we keep going back to this idea of, oh, I have to be this person or in this way. So who am I now? Meet yourself now. Like, who's that person? That person's probably pretty amazing. Can you revisit who that is? You know, what do I most value in this stage? I do my values 3 or 4 times a year, and it's not that they change that often, it's just that the lens of where I want to be, the focus, almost every 90 days changes. Right now, I'm really prioritizing health, because I'm in my 50s and I hurt myself this summer and I had a hard time walking for a while. So that is a huge priority. I'm also prioritizing these beautiful children that my brother so lovingly produced for me to have. Yeah, so that's a huge priority for me too. And relationships. I mean, I see so many friends in this audience today, and I will tell you that I absolutely did throw up this morning before coming. Because I love so many people in this room, right? And that's the thing. That's what matters, right? What am I choosing? And I want to just quickly talk about this, not what would I choose, like what would I choose if the world was perfect? I don't know, the world will never be perfect. What could I choose? That is a huge possibility. And possibilities are great, but also what is within my realm of actual growth right now? And then what should I choose? That's somebody else's. That's not yours. So what's working for me, what isn't, what am I ready to release? They are processes, and I said this before. It's never over. you get to keep working on that, right? And then what is my next most aligned step? You only have to take one. That can be growth too. In fact, staying still can be growth, right? Sometimes we're so busy chasing this that we don't actually integrate all the things that we need to do to grow. So here's our 6-7 picture with this beautiful child, Lucas, who was born 2 years after James died, and this beautiful, wild 5-year-old, almost 6-year-old Zuzu, who is my mini-me, and my brother has to raise me now. It's amazing. He's shaking his head. And these beautiful people who are my family. And so the last thing I want to leave you with is this, if I can find it. And Lindsay's going to kick me off the stage here in just a second anyway. I also found this that I had written, and I don't even know when I wrote this, but it's called an invitation. I have a lot of writing around my house. Kevin is constantly trying to go through bins of stuff with me. You are cordially invited to a one-of-a-kind event. It is the most incredible, most exasperating event of all for you and you only. This event, your life, is only yours once. This is the only time in the history of humans that you'll be in these circumstances with these people in these times. You don't get another chance. Oh, maybe you do. I don't know, but like you don't. Right now you don't. Maybe you do. We don't know. Your fear will not help you achieve and grow. Your laziness will not bring you what it is that you most seek. Your rest is essential. Your happiness is a choice. Please show up and act like your true self, because the event will be your greatest reward. And I think that the greatest reward for me is that growth is the process of meeting yourself over and over again until you can finally be who you have always been. And that's why I use the phrase, be more you, all of the time. Find who that is now and be that person without fail, rampantly, righteously, against everything else. And thank you for having me today.
Let's give it up for Michelle. Stay right here. Stay right here.
I've never done this before.
She acts like she didn't come here before. Okay.
It's like I've never done this before.
We've got questions. Who's helping me run? Questions, yeah? Go ahead. Gray's going to get her workout this morning.
So I noticed on the, whatever the trajectory graph was, that you wrote belonging on the bottom. Can you talk a little bit about that, since you talked about, being yourself instead of belonging?
Right. So I think that sometimes we think that belonging means we have to eschew what everybody else thinks in order to fit in. And what true belonging looks like is that we can be ourselves and we still belong. It is against our very human nature and evolution, because we would discard things to be part of a tribe. It meant sudden death if you weren't, right? We still think that way. And yet, a lot of times, the more that you are, the more you belong where you are, right? And I think that it's discarding the things that you're trying to stay safe with and still belong, because that is an essential human need.
I'm not asking you a question, don't worry.
Hi, Todd.
Hi, Michelle. Thank you so much for your talk. I actually grabbed a tissue on the way out the door this morning, so I'm like, you always make me cry anyways, just in your little remarks. So.
That is my joy in life, is to make people cry.
Thank you for that. Thank you. That's a real growth. So you mentioned, and one of the parts I teared up on for such a pivotal year for myself, and I know for some other folks in the room too, is letting go as a practice. Could you share a little more about what letting go, what that practice looks like to you, and some of the best ways to do that?
Yeah, so tactically, I'm going to actually give you a tactical practice. So very first thing to do is actually notice where you feel things in your body, right? What am I obsessing over? My brain is going to keep the loop. Your brains are wired for the neural networks are wired to keep you thinking fast. So you are always going to be thinking the same thing over again. You can't think your way out of something. So feel it first, right? Notice that feeling, breathe into the feeling. Start to understand that that feeling is coming up because in reaction to, right? And so even 90 seconds of breathing and really getting kind of quiet with the self until that starts to clear. And then you can examine, like, what is the story I'm telling myself here? Is that real? Am I making this mean something that it doesn't mean? Right? We all do that, right? I'm a champion at that. Am I making this mean something it doesn't mean? What is the actual thing that's happening here? And you can do that once you get calm. And then you can begin to work with that material and start to say, all right, well, I told myself this. That's not necessarily true. So I might be triggered by something, but it's not true for me because it's really this under core story that's part of me, right? That I'm not good enough, smart enough, whatever. Like, I'm giving you the Michelle stories. But those are the things. That's a way to start it. I do have a letting go practice on my website. So I believe it's michellemercurio.com/letting-go, but I can also send it to you if you want to connect with me. So yeah, and I think that's the practical way. So how do I do it? With resistance a lot of the time. And then I still do it. I journal, right? So I was not kidding. This is my journal. I journal almost every day. And I also go through that process a lot. And I meditate a lot too.
Hi, Michelle. That was really inspiring. Question for you. What has been the most difficult thing to let go of from that to-do life expectation list that you shared?
Oh. So I'm going to say people pleasing because I definitely want to make my clients and other people happy. So the things that get on the to-do list that you're doing just to make somebody else happy or because you think that they want that, and that doesn't necessarily belong. That deserves to be examined first and then really kind of maybe even talked out with somebody. Like even a small example where I was jumping through hoops for a new client and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to clear my schedule. They said it's urgent. They need to meet Monday. And this was a story I had in my head. And they were like, yeah, I'm not available Monday. Okay, so really taking a look at that kind of stuff. So the other big to-do list is like maybe even wanting to go places and be everywhere and really help people out in every way I can. And I mean, the world is always going to want more from you than what you're able to give it. So what is it that you are truly here for? And then that realign your list to that value.
How are we on time? One more? Two more?
Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
I don't even know how I want to word this, but I'm thinking of your graph, and I am a visual person, and I truly love
also
like,
a designer,
all of the
so
words.
she's probably like, what
I love all the words and everything. I love it. But I kind of want to challenge you, and I am her friend, so I'm allowed to challenge her.
You
but,
are.
What bothers me about it is that it comes back down. And
but then
I'm
it
like,
goes back
this
up.
is growth. Yeah, but, I mean, it can go up and down, but I want to challenge you to like give yourself some up on that end. Or maybe tell me why you brought it back down, I guess.
Because I didn't have more paper.
Okay. Because I'm like, there's so
that's
much
actually
growth.
a really good question because one of the things I wrote down when I was thinking about this talk is the things that you don't see is it actually looks more like a pirate map, but I didn't redraw it, right? It's like a treasure map. And you go here and you go here and you go here, and there's always jewels wherever you go, right? And I was like, well, I don't have that graphic ability. I should have called Nicole. Maybe I should. You want to do a pirate map with me? Okay, so, but I say that to say the up and down is not necessarily when I was thinking kind of like the beginning and end, and yet it begins again, right? And it goes like this. So, but thanks for challenging me. I love it. Great question. Nice. We good?
Take it.
Okay.
Well, find her here, here, here.
Next month here.
Next month, she'll be here. And can we give a round of applause for our favorite? Thank you. Michelle's talk will be online as well.